I hope you burn for this.
What happened at that convention was unacceptable.
We can have a long conversation just about Debbie Wasserman Schultz and how she's been throwing shade on the Sanders campaign.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kate Baldwin. John Berman is off today. Heated divisions between voters and the establishment boiling over allegations of a rigged system, accusations of inciting violence. And this time, we're not talking about the Republican race. The head of the Democratic Party this morning tells CNN that Bernie Sanders has not done enough to rein in his supporters after unrest at the Nevada Democratic Convention escalated into chaos, even death threats toward party leaders. Listen here.
That in no way is it ever acceptable to condone or to ignore violence and intimidation against officials with whom you're frustrated.
Now, Bernie Sanders campaign manager Jeff Weaver, he spoke out this morning as well, condemning the violence, but also accusing DNC chairwoman that you heard right there, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, accusing her specifically of working against the Sanders campaign. Listen to him.
Categorically condemns any kind of threats that went on. Absolutely unacceptable. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, we could have a long conversation just about Debbie Wasserman Schultz and how she's been throwing shade on the Sanders campaign since the very beginning.
So, senior political reporter Manu Raju is on Capitol Hill with the very latest here. So, Manu, where does this fight stand right now?
Well, I can tell you, Kate, a number of senior Democrats that I've spoken with want more than just Jeff Weaver to say that we condemn the violence. They want Bernie Sanders to say that more forcefully. Yesterday, when he spoke to legions of supporters in Southern California, he actually skirted the issue. Really didn't talk about that at all. In fact, talked about wanting the Democratic leadership to invite more of their supporters into the fold. And yesterday, after Harry Reid, the Senate Democratic leader, spoke with Bernie Sanders, he thought they were sort of on the same page. He thought that Bernie Sanders was going to make a forceful statement. Bernie Sanders did release a statement, but of course in that statement he said while they do condemn the violence, he made very clear that he was critical of the Democratic Party leadership's handling of the Nevada convention on Saturday. Now that just infuriated a lot of Democrats on Capitol Hill. Harry Reid was upset about that as well, calling it a silly statement. And when I spoke with other Democrats today, they echo those concerns. One Democrat, Tim Kaine, rumored to be on Hillary Clinton's shortlist. I just caught up with him here in the Capitol, also said that in very strong terms, condemning what the Sanders supporters did in the Nevada convention, but also going after Bernie Sanders a little bit. Here's a little bit about what he had to say. He said, whoever is leaking this personal information and harassing people online, harassing people personally, Bernie's a leader and he needs to condemn it without equivocation and without trying to deflect attention or blame onto someone else, calling on Bernie Sanders to actually forcefully condemn what his supporters have done. Now, the Bernie supporters say that, look, this is not fair. The process is not fair. It's rigged against them. The system is rigged against them. But clearly what we're seeing, Kate, is an intense, growing tension between the party leadership, the establishment, and the Bernie campaign ahead of that Philadelphia convention in July.
Absolutely. And more tension and frustration and more people speaking out in more direct terms than I think we've really heard all throughout this primary to this point. Manu, thanks so much. Manu's on Capitol Hill where he's getting a lot of the reaction so far. So Senator Barbara Boxer, who has endorsed Hillary Clinton, she was at that Nevada convention. She was nearly booed off the stage. Watch this. Senator Barbara Boxer, she is joining me right now from Capitol Hill. Senator, thank you very much for taking the time. When you see that video, you have been in Democratic politics quite some time. You say you've never experienced anything like that before.
That's right. I don't have to see the video. I was there. I know exactly what happened. Yeah. And I tried very hard to get things under control. I basically told the crowd, you know, that Bernie and Hillary had asked for civility, and that didn't help. I said, Bernie is my friend, he's my good friend, and they still booed. And I said, look, when you're booing me, you're really booing Bernie, because Bernie asked for civility. And there was no way to control what was happening. And I did fear for my safety, and I fortunately had a lot of security around me. And it's true, The only thing close to that is when Bush v. Gore and I went down to Tallahassee, Florida, to speak outside the courthouse door when they were recounting ballots. Newt Gingrich had sent a bunch of people over there to boo me down, and I was able to actually talk to them and quieted them down. And so I've never really had anything like this happen. Now, I did call Bernie a couple of times, and he did phone me back last night.
Oh, he called you back.
He was very distressed about it, and it was a very warm conversation. And I told him, he expressed shock that his people would do it. I did tell him the vast majority of those Bernie supporters were sitting in their chairs. They were fine. But there was this group of 50 to 100 people. They were not young people, they were older people, and that he ought to check out to see who these people are. And he said he would.
So, Senator, are you happy now? I mean, you have called for, you said that I've heard you say that you need Bernie Sanders to rein his people in, to talk to his supporters.
I never used the word rein. I never used the word rein his people in. I said he needed to take control of his campaign.
He needs to take control of his campaign.
Yeah. Yes.
From what you heard from Bernie Sanders when he returned your phone call, has he done that?
Well, look, I'm not going to comment on characterizing what Bernie is doing behind the scenes. I don't know. But I could tell you he was very upset and distressed. We had a very warm conversation. I'm very hopeful that that will turn into a change. But at the end of the day, Bernie says the following: we must keep Donald Trump out of the White House. And that means supporting Hillary Clinton. And to his supporters who are grousing about the fact that everything is rigged, it's not rigged. You know, we've had elections. Hillary has more votes and Hillary has more delegates, not even counting superdelegates. So I think we need to look at, at what is at stake here. And let me tell you what's at stake here. Everything that we believe in.
Senator, other Democrats have said that Bernie Sanders needs to come out and condemn this. We've heard his campaign manager come out and say Jeff Weaver has condemned the violence, saying there is no context that should allow for threats to be made of any kind. Do you think Bernie Sanders has done enough to condemn the violence? Do you expect after your conversation he will come out and condemn in stronger terms what has happened?
I expect Bernie to get a hold of this whole situation. That's what I expect from a leader. And Bernie has shown that he's a leader in this country. He has put issues on the table. Hillary Clinton has complimented him for bringing these issues to the table. Between the two of them, it's really remarkable that they have looked at America and they have come up with solutions. So we need to unite. I'm not going to tell Bernie Sanders, my colleague and my friend, what to do. He knows how I feel. He knows that I felt threatened. He knows that it was wrong. Now we will see. But in my mind, when he says that he does not support any type of violence, I believe him, and he's got to make sure it doesn't happen. People will follow his lead, and if they don't, then that's a whole other problem.
Right. Do you feel better about the situation after your conversation with him?
Certainly. I certainly do, because I've known Bernie and Hillary for more than 20 years. I've worked with both of them. And, this has got to be about what's best for the country. And at the end of the day, I trust that he will see it that way and he will act. It was a scary situation. I was there. I saw it. It was frightening. I was on the stage and people were 6 feet away from me. And if I didn't have a lot of security, I don't know what would have happened. But this election isn't about me. It's about us. And we have to work together. And I believe we will. We have to remember that when Hillary ran against Barack Obama, there were a lot of harsh feelings. So yeah. I'm very hopeful that we will come together.
But you really did feel threatened, physically threatened. You were nervous about your safety at that event.
Well, I said that. I said that to Bernie. I said that publicly. When you have people not listening to a word and angry, their faces red, they were shouting obscenities. No one threw a chair at me. No one threw any object at me. I had a lot of security. But if that's the bar,
that's pretty disconcerting.
Well, I'm saying how I felt. It was a frightening situation. It was not under control. And I mean, what I got was nothing compared to what the Democratic Party chair in Nevada got. And she has gotten vile threats to herself, to her family. This is serious stuff. And this is not what we need going into an election. There is no place for this in either party, no place for this.
You know, Senator Dick Durbin, I know you know him very well. He said, coming out of what he saw happen in Nevada, he's worried. Those are his words. He's worried about the Philadelphia convention and from what he saw from Sanders supporters in Nevada. Are you worried?
Well, I don't want to say I'm worried. I'm working to make sure that the convention is peaceful. I'm talking to Bernie. I'm talking to his people here who support him in the Congress. They all know if we have that type of convention, you know, we might as well just say we're giving up an advantage that we have. And what is the advantage that we have? We fight for the American people. We shouldn't be fighting with each other. We should be fighting to raise the minimum wage. We should be fighting for health care for everybody. The list goes on, making education affordable, protecting a woman's right to choose. All these things are at stake, a peaceful world. And so we need to come together. So I'm not sitting around worried. I am actually working to make sure that we're all on the same page. And we will get through this. We will get through this.
Senator, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for giving us your candid take on the situation. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you very much. So while all of that is playing out, Bernie Sanders has picked up another win last night in Oregon, and he is vowing to stay in the race until the end. Hillary Clinton also picked up a much-needed win, narrowly beating Sanders in Kentucky.